manages to bring the ball away, but it's only temporary as Manchester City once again are coming forward. Rotherham United 0, Gillingham 1. Rotherham have won their last 5 home matches in League One, but they're behind to Gillingham. Stuart Lovell is the caretaker manager there.
But the Dutchman has to pursue it out to the flank, gets in a cross which is deflected, and has Joe Hart guided that out of play, or has are the Eagles, and they appreciated that, the home supporters. They were a bit nervous when it was fed back to Speroni, but he's managed to get rid of it, and Palace in possession on the halfway line. Still 0-0, 9 minutes of the first half played here on BBC Radio London. Back it goes to Loftus-Cheek, who is back inside his own half of the field, and the game has been stopped because Patrick Van Aanholt, and I'd say this completely escaped me, has sat down deep inside the West Ham half of the field.
He hasn't
pointing
moved
to his ankle. No, he was involved in a passage of play about a minute and a half ago, but no one paid him any attention because the ball was on the other side of the field. So what's he explaining here? Last thing Roy Hodgson needs is another injury blow, with Christian Benteke out for at least another 4 weeks. But he's having a word with James Tompkins actually, while he has a drink of something isotonic and refreshing down there. Not the coldest of afternoons here, but they have turned the heaters off. West Brom 0, Man City 1 is the latest score. Leroy Sané with the goal. Yes, they had put that. Well, you've got some heaters here at Selhurst Park, remarkably, which they did put on earlier. But they've clearly now decided it isn't cold enough because they've turned them off. Not that they make a jot of difference on a freezing cold December evening in a cup replay or something, or January.
It's not that cold, is it?
No, it's not. It's fine. No, I've come in a light coat today. James isn't wearing a coat at all. But yeah, the heating on I thought was
making a change. Yeah,
they cut well. That's just perfect for Crystal Palace, isn't it? Van Aanholt can't carry on, and Timothy Fosu-Mensah is going to be brought on instead. Not what the Eagles needed in the opening 10 minutes here. The man on loan from Manchester United called on almost immediately, and he is going to go and play at left back. Van Aanholt not happy at being dismissed, about being taken off, or I mean, whether he's objecting to the fact he has been substituted. I didn't see it myself, but colleagues around me have suggested they weren't too happy. He wasn't too happy about being replaced, and he flung something up the ground, sat down in a huff. He's not gone down the tunnel to get any treatment, actually.
Yeah, he just might be disappointed with himself.
Yeah, not what Palace needed, not what he needed. Again, I wonder whether if it was a real problem, they might take him down the tunnel, but he's just sat down. 0-0. Fosu-Mensah, who's just come on, lifts it forward for Palace. Zaha stretching for that, but he can't control it. That's kind of broken up the start of this game, hasn't it, James? 11 minutes gone. We don't really know much about this game yet.
What I would say is, Nick, looking at Zaha and Townsend down the middle, that's great, and I think they will cause problems. But what it takes away from Palace is that skill, that pace, that trickery out wide.
Yeah.
They don't seem to have that pass out wide which stretches teams, which pulls teams apart.
I mean, I suppose the impetus is on those two to get wide, but then there's no one to aim at in the penalty area.
And the real natural width they had with Van Harnock, they've lost now because Fosu-Mensah's are right-footed. Joel Ward isn't an out-and-out attacker.
Here's Zaha down the left, he's offside. No, the referee's pulled it back because there's a West Ham player down injured now. It's Fernandez inside the Palace half. And the flag did go up anyway, so it wouldn't have counted, or certainly the game would have had to have stopped anyway. But, well, Fosu-Mensah, not exactly, he must have trodden on his toe actually, because the contact between the two of them is not great. And he's now down, and again we have another stoppage. And I'm not sure who this suits actually, James. Another lengthy stoppage, probably West Ham, given the fact that you said they would have to be slightly more cautious in their approach.
I think so. I think West Ham, the more they can stifle the game, the more they can interrupt Palace, the more they can stop Palace getting into their rhythm, the better. I just look at both benches. If you look at West Ham's bench, they've got match winners off their bench.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering in the second half.
Yeah,
just wondering in the second half. Antonio, Carroll, Arnautovic.
Yeah, they've certainly got players they can introduce. Palace's bench, not quite the same. Jason Puncheon there. Bakary Sakho, who's got a couple of goals in the League Cup. Oh, that's a dreadful touch by Jose Font. Guided out of play. He tried to control it and send it wide to Zabaleta, but he won't have enjoyed that against his former club. Fosu-Mensah is going to take it, as James mentioned, a right-footed player playing at left-back. And West Bromwich Albion have equalised against Manchester City. Jay Rodriguez has levelled things up at the Hawthorns. Fosu-Mensah's throw is won in the air by Font, collected by Schlupp, who could have gone to play at left-back. He's played left-back in the past. That's a little ball forward by Townsend, looking for Zaha, but overhit. And it'll be cleared by Cheikhou Kouyaté towards the halfway line. Kouyaté, one of 3 centre-halves for West Ham this afternoon. Here's Yohan Cabaye, centre of the field for the Eagles. Wide to Joel Ward, who's passed forward. He's cut out by Aaron Cresswell, the left wing back for West Ham United. And it goes into the fans in the Arthur Waite stand on the far side of the field. Palace take the throw-in quickly. They want to establish some sort of rhythm. The stop-start nature of this opening quarter of an hour has meant they haven't really had the chance. Now Kouyaté has challenged Zaha there on the corner of the West Ham penalty area. Zaha's gone to ground. The referee's given nothing, and it's gone out for a West Ham throw. That's the problem when you've got two wingers playing as centre forward. They're not really going to be as up for the rugged battle, are they?
Yeah, it's, I think, away from home, and I can see against Chelsea how it worked. I think a team like West Ham that are coming and sitting in, and there's not a great deal of there's not a great deal of space in behind West Ham's back 3, back 5. Not quite sure where they're going to get success, really.
Now, has Lanzini run that out of play? I thought he did. The referee, though, says play on, and then gives a foul against the Crystal Palace defender, Scott Down, or it's Joel Ward, who made the challenge. And City are 2-0 up, 2-1 up against City, against West Brom. Fernandinho has made it 2-1. James?
Because when you play up front, Nick, and I can speak from experience myself, you're up against someone, you're marked, and you're heavily marked as well. When you're out wide, it's not always the case.
Played the free kick short here of West Ham, and Fernandez, who seems okay now after that knock, gives it to Noble, who's back in the side after missing out against Brighton. Kouyaté wants to go backwards, but Zaha has cut that route off, so he uses Ogbonna and Cresswell on the touchline. And there's a foot in by Cabaye on halfway just to knock that out of play. Throw in to West Ham United. Reading 0, Middlesbrough 1. Grant Ledbetter has given Middlesbrough the lead from the penalty spot. Here it's still 0-0 in the game that pits the bottom side. Crystal Palace against West Ham in 16th. 8 points after 9 games, their lowest tally in the Premier League at this point for 7 years. And there is a sense of foreboding about West Ham at the moment, although part of it was lifted in the second half against Tottenham on Wednesday. That second half against Spurs on Wednesday really seemed to come from absolutely nowhere. I'm not entirely convinced. I watched 2 halves of the same game at Wembley. There's been a goal at Vicarage Road. Let's get news of it from Adam Inca.
Stoke lead here 1-0. A fantastic set piece from Stoke. Shaqiri's delivery unmarked on the edge of the 18-yard box. Darren Fletcher volleyed into the bottom corner. It's Stoke 1, Watford 0.
Well, we talked about how good Watford have been so far this season, and they'd be expected to beat Stoke at home, but they're losing. Here it's 0-0. It's back with Speroni. That's an undercooked back pass by Tompkins, but Speroni anticipates the danger well, scampers off his line, clears to halfway, and Fosu-Mensah is now going to try and go past Fernandes, who checks his run, but Palace have bodies forward. Then Schlupp gives it away, and here comes Hernandez on halfway. A slide in from Milivojevic, collected by Lanzini. The ball's cannoning one way and the other at the moment. Not the most edifying of spectacles, but it's going to be Crystal Palace who pick the ball up on their right with Joel Ward and Dan, and now Fosu-Mensah at left back. They've won one of the last 6 Premier League meetings against West Ham of the Eagles. They've lost 4 of them, and of course Palace's recent record in the Premier League is terrible. They lost 12 of their last 14 last season into this. They've only won that one game so far this season against Chelsea. Here's Zaha breaking towards the edge of the box, onto Loftus-Cheek, goes past Zabaleta, can't get past Font, who clears for the Hammers to halfway, where Tompkins collects, and Zaha tries to wriggle round Zabaleta, who this time makes the challenge at close quarters. But it's a Palace throw halfway inside the West Ham half of the field. Slavan Bilic wearing just a suit, bellows instructions. Roy Hodgson sensibly has got a big coat on. 70 years old these days, Roy Hodgson. You know, he needs to watch out with the cold weather.
He's had the flu jab this week.
Probably. Has he? Is that, I would have thought. Very sensible. Well, you're allowed to if you're of a certain age, and fairly certain he qualifies. It's that time of year, folks. I said the heating was on at Selhurst Park, and means winter's coming. 0-0 here, helped on by Hernandez for West Ham. Ayew flicks it into Lanzini. We're going to whip round the grounds in a few moments' time here on BBC Radio London. But here's Aaron Cresswell down the left, checked infield by Ward. Now Lanzini, Noble just outside the centre circle, tries to angle that forward. It's a poor pass by Noble, and Palace can't counter. They need help for Zaha as he breaks over the halfway line. He's got Townsend outside him. Here's Townsend, roll forward now for Loftus-Cheek, back to Townsend, into the box. Good challenge by Noble. Loftus-Cheek's got it back, lifts it into the penalty area, slapped away from danger by Zabaleta, and now Lanzini will try and turn defence into attack. Skips away from a challenge from Milivojevic. Here come the Hammers down their right. Andre Ayew, 2 goals against Tottenham during the week, gives it to Fernandes, who in turn clips it wide to Cresswell down that left side. Back into Noble inside the centre circle. This game starting to open up a fraction, perhaps. Still 0-0, still no real chance on goal with 20 minutes gone. That's a free kick on halfway to the Hammers, and we'll check in at the Emirates. Arsenal-Swansea, Jamie Hill.
Arsenal 0, Swansea 0, but no clear-cut chances so far. The game in a familiar pattern if you've watched Swansea away from home. They're defending. Arsenal with loads of ball, loads of possession, but no clear-cut chances as yet. It's Arsenal 0, Swansea 0.
Here is Ayew, and he's not shut down quick enough for the Crystal Palace supporters' liking. And now Schlupp goes in with a boisterous challenge, and has that been kept in play by Zaha? No, it hasn't. Throw in West Ham on the halfway line. Let's go to Loftus Road. QPR against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Emma Jones.
80 minutes played here, goalless at the moment between QPR and Wolves, but QPR have seen a lot more of the ball than their opponents. I think Ian Holloway will be relatively happy, but it's QPR 0, Wolves 0.
Still waiting for this throw to be taken. 0-0 here. What about at the Cardiff City Stadium? Cardiff-Millwall. Dino standing.
Still Cardiff City 0, Millwall 0. No chances to tell you about so far, but Millwall have probably had the better of things, and against a side who are flying high in the table, Neil Harris will be very pleased with the way his side are taking the game to the opposition. But at this stage, it's still Cardiff City 0, Millwall 0.
And they still haven't taken this throw, so we'll go to Craven Cottage at Aaron Paul.
19 minutes gone. Fulham 0, Bolton Wanderers 0. The hosts have had the lion's share of possession, and they should have really been 1-0 up. Floyd Ayite striking the ball into the back of Ben Anik's net, only for it to be ruled offside. Not really sure who was offside there, whether it was Ayite or Ryan Fredericks. Fulham very, very unlucky. Oh, by the way, that offside goal was of course provided by Tom Cairney. 19.5 minutes gone. Fulham 0, Bolton Wanderers 0.
You've missed 2 throws by Zabaleta on the halfway line, and now here's the third. and West Ham have actually managed to get out of that section of the pitch. I thought we were going to be there all night. Cresswell going over the halfway line, helps it on to Fernandez. He goes backwards, so we'll go to Deepdale. Here's Billy Reeves.
It's Preston North End 0, Brentford 0. Preston have had the best of it, but Brentford have had the best chance. Decent save from Maxwell in the Preston goal from Joseph-Su. 0-0.
Thank you, Billy. It's with Javier Hernandez on the halfway line, breaking past two defenders. Good challenge by Milivojevic. Here come Palace, desperate to counter quickly. Townsend breaks over halfway and wants to feed this the other side of Font to get Zaha in, but Font has guided it back to Hart, who clears to the halfway line. Fosu-Mensah jumping, controlled by Lanzini, who bustles forward, runs into Fosu-Mensah, and we'll go to the Valley, the London derby in League One. Charlton-Wimbledon, Louis Mendes.
Yes, Charlton 0, Wimbledon 0, a fairly even but fairly quiet game so far. There's been a couple of chances at each end. Jake Forster-Caskey curling a free kick just over for Charlton. Down the other end, Lyle Taylor slapping wide of the near post with his left foot. Still, Charlton 0, Wimbledon 0.
Let's complete the picture at Accrington Barnet. Jonathan Blakey.
0-0 between Accrington Stanley and Barnet at the moment. Barnet have had one good effort. Ryan Watson, his shot was saved on the 6th minute. That was a shot from 25 yards. Accrington Stanley have had a good chance. Billy Key, his header in the middle of the area, that was well saved by Craig Ross in the Barnet goal, but it's still 0-0 here.
Thanks, Jonathan. Still 0-0 here at Selhurst as well. We've just seen Wilfred Zaha attempt to take on 5 players on this near side of the field, but he couldn't get past all 5 of them because that would almost be a physical impossibility. There's been a goal at the Emirates. Jamie Hill.
It's Arsenal 0, Swansea 1, and Swansea have caught Arsenal cold on the counter. Meaningful first attack from them in the game. Lovely slide rule pass by Tammy Abraham down the inside left position. He found Sam Klukas, who raced in and nutmegged Petr Cech at his near post. It's Arsenal 0, Swansea 1.
0-0 here. Free kick Palace on the halfway line, and James, we wondered whether this would be kind of all systems go, and well, it isn't, is it really?
Well, the best player on the pitch at the moment is out of play because he's had more touches than anyone else, hasn't it? It's been stop-start, there's been little injuries, it's just so much tension. It's almost it sums the Premier League up. There's so much at stake.
Fosu-Mensah down the left, gets a cross in that fades away from Joe Hart, now to play for a goal kick. And yeah, I mean, I suppose in some ways I didn't see a great deal of Manchester United against Tottenham as well, but the cage, what Jose Mourinho does so effectively is he kind of turns that caginess into an art form and yet manages to engineer a result at the end of it. At the moment, what we're just watching here is Crystal Palace and West Ham not really wanting to lay a glove on each other, not really gambling, not really doing anything. And
I think as the away side, West Ham will be slightly happy, but yeah, they just don't look a threat either, West Ham, going forward. So
we've not seen Hernandez and Ayew and Lanzini combine in the final third at all, have we?
Well, Julian Speroni and Joe Hart, apart from a couple of back passes, I'm not sure they touch it with their hands, have they?
Not virtually, not. No, I don't think there's certainly not been a save to make. We've had 25 minutes near enough here on the home of London football. This is BBC Radio London, and there's another foul on the halfway line, which will send a few pulses racing, not many. It's a free kick to Crystal Palace, and a free kick West Ham, beg your pardon. There's been a lot of free kicks on the halfway line, if I'm honest with you. Here's Mark Noble down the left, checks in field and switches it to the right, and Font. Can West Ham throw a few passes together inside the Palace half of the field? Zabaleta rolls it forward just too far in front of Javier Hernandez, and now here's Townsend on the halfway line. Noble has fouled him. Mark Noble unhappy with that decision, and Bobby Madley wants a word with the West Ham captain. As I said, that's a third free kick on the halfway line in the space of about the last 3 minutes. And now Bobby Madley says, I haven't allowed you to take the free kick, so we have to go back, and the disjointed nature of the game continues. Fortunately, there are goals flying in everywhere else. Let's go to Wrexham. Dave Victor.
An equaliser for the O's, and it came in the 23rd minute. Macaulay Bonne with the left foot strike into the top corner. His 10th of the campaign. Wrexham 1, Orient 1.
Cheltenham have the lead against Wycombe in League 2. As you were hearing, Swansea lead Arsenal by a goal to 0. And it's very much 0-0 here at Selhurst Park. It wasn't a brilliant game of football at St James's a week ago, actually. Roy Hodgson said he thought his team played quite well and it was watchable at times. I have to say,
if this was an away performance by Crystal Palace, it'd be absolutely fine. Yeah. But they're not. They're playing, I'd say, the team that's struggling the most in the Premier League. But it's hard to say when you're Crystal Palace. I just think it just needs to take the shackles off a little bit.
West Ham are playing the one team with less confidence than them, perhaps, I suppose, given.
And that is debatable.
Events. Well, yeah, that is debatable. And we wonder which set of players would turn up today, the West Ham of the first half against Tottenham or the West Ham of the second half against Tottenham. Actually, it's somewhere in between. They're not as bad as they were in the first half, and they're certainly nowhere near as good as they were in the second 45 minutes. So the whole thing's a bit...
The game needs a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. It needs a chance.
Did you miss 80s football when it was, the pitch was nowhere near as good as this? Everyone was 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Get up to the two centre forwards.
Now, James, you and I were both very, very young during the 1980s, so let's not pretend we had a real grasp. But even 90s football was a bit more edifying than this. And you played in a very attractive Ipswich Town team who used to let in goals and score goals almost for fun. But yeah, this is too cagey, isn't it? For the best league in the world. Are they beaming this to India and
I'm sure
the South China Sea? And
the biggest problem is too much at stake at the game.
Yeah. There's been a goal at Preston North End against Brentford. Here's Billy Reeves.
Preston North End 0, Brentford 1. Well to move. A snapshot from Joseph Soon, parried right into the path of Nico Yanaris. Johnny on the spot, just let it bounce off his face into an empty net. Preston North End 0, Brentford 1.
Over something bouncing off someone's face here as another cross by Jeffrey Schlupp sails over the top of Joe Hart, and several of my colleagues ease back into a more comfortable position in their press box seats and go, well, this is not really much good, is it, with 28 minutes gone? And both these sides in such desperate trouble at the bottom of the Premier League, and this is virtually unwatchable. I mean, it really is. Boreham Wood 1, Bromley 0. I thought my producer was going to say boring, but that's what it is. And we built this up.
There's still a long way to go in this.
There is, absolutely,
in this game.
But we built this up as being, a hugely significant fixture.
Well, the result is that makes it a big fixture, doesn't it?
Townsend tries to get away from Chiarte, battles away furiously. Townsend's still going, then runs into Font. Townsend wants a foul, he's not going to get one. Angled forward for Ayew on the halfway line, and there's space here for Cresswell as he goes galloping down that left-hand side. Joel Ward going with him, the two full-backs tangling, and it goes out for a West Ham throw. Cresswell takes it quickly. Oh, goodness gracious, they're into the Crystal Palace box. Andre Ayew trying to get round Milivojevic, that's not easy, and he's going to clip this towards halfway. Townsend is impeded by Chiarte, nothing given. West Ham have won it back. Here is Chiarte and Ogbonna, and there was a brief flurry of activity, but the game's kind of settled back down again. Still 0-0. Sunderland 0, Bristol City 1. Bobby Reid, the team that dismantled Crystal Palace in the League Cup on Tuesday evening. Oh, that goes behind Lanzini, but he scampers back into his own half, then drives forward, the little Argentinian, into Fernandez, who tries to play an early pass to Hernandez, but the ball goes one way and Hernandez goes the other, and Joel Ward will clear over the halfway line, looking for Townsend, beaten in the air by Ogbonna.
I don't think it's working, the Townsend-Zaha partnership up front. Maybe one of them might just have to drop.
Sort of 4-1-3-1.
But they're playing with the back to goal, which isn't really their play, is it? They're both players that like to get turned.
Cabaye coming forward, looking for Zaha, might get goal side of the goal. Oh, he's gone down under a challenge from Font. No penalty, says Bobby Manley. First moment of the game after half an hour, and Zaha for a split second looked as though he got away from Jose Font, who seemed to make a challenge with his arms raised. Zaha went to ground. The referee was up with play and waved penalty appeals away. James Scowcroft, without having seen it again, I'm afraid.
I personally would have given it.
Ayew gives it to Cresswell, he gets away down the left, low cross, Hernandez scores to West Ham! Palace denied a penalty at one end, and the Hammers go straight down the other end and snatch the lead, and it's Javier Hernandez who gets on the end of the little cross from Cresswell from the left, stab past Baroni, and with 14 minutes to go in the first half, it's the side from East London who have struck first. Crystal Palace 0, West Ham 1.
Wow, it's all come alive. Finally, we've got a game on here. Everybody's still complaining about the penalty. Was it not? West Ham got the other end. It's their first real quality attack. I thought Cresswell could have gone for goal. He pulls it back. It's a good spot, actually, and it's a wonderful finish by Hernandez here.
Yeah, we're just watching it again.
I thought Speroni possibly could have done better. Yeah.
It's quite close to the goalkeeper, wasn't it? We just see Cresswell rolling it infield, and again it's an expert finish by Hernandez outside of the right boot. It is quite close to Speroni, but I think he must have expected it to be drilled into the corner. Maybe he wasn't expecting the ball to go high, and the 38-year-old couldn't react and get down to his right and gather the ball or push it away. Big goal for the Mexican.
Huge goal.
And now I suppose Crystal Palace will have to play a little more adventurously, but the problem is, James, as you keep highlighting, they're playing with two wingers as centre forwards. They're not going to be able to go direct. They're just going to have to keep doing what they're doing. Here's Hernandez again, clips it out wide to Lanzini on that side of the field. I think we need to go. Well, we're going to go to Craven Cottage in just a second, because here is Noble going down that left-hand side. Gets held up, trying to exchange passes with Lanzini, and then the referee's given a free kick to West Ham inside the Palace half of the field. And do you know what? Let's go to Craven Cottage while they sort this out. And Aaron Paul's got goal news for us.
Half an hour gone, Fulham 0, Bolton Wanderers 1. Sammy Amiobi has shown the Fulham strikers how to do it. He's taken the ball back to goal inside the D, 3 men around him, swiveled and just cracked it past David Button low into the bottom left-hand corner. Fulham 0, Bolton Wanderers 1.
West Ham leading, free kick floated into the Palace box, cleared by Loftus-Cheek as far as Noble turns it forward. Here's Hernandez, corner of the box, and now Lanzini, low cross, blocked by Schlup's torso, out for a corner. First corner of the game goes to West Ham, and how Palace must now be ruining that half hour where they really didn't take the game to West Ham at all.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing. What Crystal Palace have got to be careful here, they don't go 2 goals down. They've got to just cling on here, because West Ham have got their tails up.
Here's the corner. Font has come forward. This is going to drop inside the 6-yard box, and Dan tracked it all the way and tucks it behind. No, it comes off Jose Font, actually, who got forward. Thought Dan had seen that out of play, but it's going to be a goal kick. There's Ogbonna in there as well, was it? It was, you're right, it was a free header at the near post.
Should have done better.
Slightly obscured by one of the many pillars that are placed in front of us here at Selhurst Park. We shouldn't complain about that, but didn't see Ogbonna head that wide. But that was a big chance, and as you say, there's that danger for Palace now that 2-0 becomes a really difficult scoreline for them to come back from. Bournemouth 1, Bromley 1. Josh Reese with the goal. Here's Milivojevic trying to win something on the halfway line. Crystal Palace, of course, without too many options on the bench, as James has already highlighted. Townsend might win a corner here. He does. Just sends it into the heels of Aaron Cresswell. And a set-piece opportunity here for Palace, and you've already mentioned how critical these set-pieces could be. And what can Palace fashion? They did brilliantly from corners, Palace, against Chelsea. Really, really well. Exploited the set-pieces very effectively. Cabaye with a right-footed outswing. The Palace fans expecting as this floats high, and Tompkins' header flashes across the 18-yard area. Comes to Milivojevic, who wins another corner off Aaron Cresswell. Second in quick succession with 10 minutes to go to half-time here on BBC Radio London. And it's still 1-0 to West Ham. Javier Hernandez's goal just after the half hour. And Slavan Bilic, who's at time lived a charmed life as West Ham manager, has his nose in front in a critical game again. Here's Cabaye's corner, floats towards the far post, Dan's header, and then Loftus-Cheek back across goal, and carved away by the goalkeeper hard twice, once from Tompkins, and the second time of asking from Schlupp, and it's stayed out, and it's still 1-0 to West Ham, and it's another corner.
Well, it should be 1-1, and somehow Joe Hart's kept this out. I think it just hits him. It's like Pinball Wizard here, they keep it alive. It's James Tompkins. It's a great save by Joe Hart. It comes back, and I think it's Wilfried Zaha that just hooks it back in. No, it's actually Jose.
In comes another corner. They're queuing up for this as well. Dan tries to get hold of it, and the referee spotted a push. It's a free kick to West Ham inside their own 6-yard box. But yeah, Schlupp's the man inside the 6-yard box, trying to hook it towards goal. I think Hart got in the way of that one as well. Still 1-0. Let's go to the Wham Stadium, which I always enjoy saying. Here's Jonathan Blakey.
It's Accrington Stanley 1, Barnet 0. Across on the right-hand side, the Barnet defence didn't deal with it. Although Barnet have just been awarded a penalty as Sean McConville found a top corner from that cross on the right right-hand side, but Barnet have literally just been awarded a penalty. Jack Taylor brought down in the area. The referee, no hesitation, pointed to the spot for Barnet to have a perfect opportunity to get back level only a minute or two after going behind.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bear with us one sec. We'll just deal with some action here at Selhurst because it's a much better game since the goal, and we'll confirm whether that penalty goes in just a second. 9 minutes to go to half-time. BBC Radio London live at Selhurst Park, where West Ham have taken the lead. Crystal Palace should have equalised, though, with that James Tompkins header, well saved by Joe Hart, and then the Jeffrey Schlupp effort also scrambled away by the England goalkeeper. That's a good foot in there by Fosu-Mensah. Oh, and he's gone down. It's a free kick. Fosu-Mensah was caught by Zabaleta.
Well, he has to book him.
And he's going to book him, I think. Now, the other thing I was going to mention, 4 red cards in these games between these two in the last 5 meetings. Zabaleta is carded, and Fosu-Mensah very nearly got round him, and then he would have been in a good position down the left. But yes, 4 red cards in the last 5 meetings between these two, and Fosu-Mensah, the latest Crystal Palace left back to go down injured. And they're going to have to patch him up and get him back out there because they're running out of fullbacks. Although Jeffrey Schlupp can play there, but Zabaleta
he's
does
holding his groin, so that's not good news.
No, he's lying flat on his back. A couple more grey hairs on Roy Hodgson's head. We're just watching the penalty. Well, has he caught Zaha's knee there?
I think he makes the right decision. I think if Jose Fonte just pulls out, I see this from a better angle here.
He's pulled out, hasn't he? He's just... No, the shake of the heads. Oh, and Barnet have missed the penalty. They hit the bar. Dear, oh dear, Beast fans. It doesn't get much easier for you, does it? It's been a difficult spell for you. Still Fosu-Mensah lying injured. And yeah, we're seeing these Zaha Font incidents several times now, and it just does seem as though Jose Font says to himself, do you know what, if I do this, he's going to go to ground. If I stick my leg out here, he's going to go over it, and it's going to be a penalty, and therefore I'll pull out. So the sense is no penalty for Crystal Palace. West Ham went straight up the other end and scored the only goal of the game. Fosu-Mensah is standing up, walking awkwardly, but I think he's going to be okay. It's another free kick to Crystal Palace down their left, another set piece in a good position. And once again, we have to underline for Crystal Palace the importance of these sort of deliveries if they're going to get back into it. 1-0 West Ham, 6 minutes to go to half-time. Townsend watching on. He'll strike this, no Cabaye this time. He's loitering on the edge of the penalty area. Loftus-Cheek, Dan and Tompkins all waiting for this. Comes in towards the edge of the 6-yard box, and Loftus-Cheek has headed it over the top.
Difficult header.
Yeah.
It was behind him, wasn't it? It wasn't a great ball.
This is for Fosu-Mensah coming back on. But we've talked about the importance of those set pieces, and we've not seen a good one yet, really, have we? Bournemouth 1, Bromley 2 in the National League. Bromley back in front at Bournemouth. Here it's 1-0 to West Ham. Javier Hernandez with the goal. And it's been collected by the former Ipswich Town man Aaron Cresswell on the far side, who treads on it. Goes back to Ogbonna. Wide to Font on the West Ham left. And well, it's gone a bit quiet inside Selhurst Park, as you can imagine. After the frenetic way the first half was conducted against Chelsea, this has been far more subdued from the home team. From West Ham's point of view, actually, a fairly stultifying first half an hour of football, followed by a strike by Javier Hernandez, is pretty much what Slavan Bilic will have wanted from his team, you'd have thought. Here's Joel Ward on the right for Palace, angles it forward. Townsend level with the edge of the penalty area. Ogbonna comes to deal with him. Townsend floats a teasing cross in, which is snatched out of the air by Hart. Again, unfortunately, when you've got Townsend producing crosses like that, for Christian Benteke to head them in, James Scowcroft.
Yeah, exactly. He's crossing for Wilfried Zaha against Jose Fonte, Cheick Kouyaté, Ogbonna. 6'1", 6'2". Yeah, exactly. And you've got Joe Hart in goal, who's will come and collect all day long.
That's the situation Crystal Palace find themselves in. It's nothing new. You know, they haven't had a striker for what, 4 games nearly. In fact, more than 4 games. In the absence of Christian Benteke, they've just not.
He's out for a while more.
Yeah,
isn't he? 5 or 6 weeks.
December at least that he'll be returning. And it's Boreham Wood 2, Bromley 2. Amazing game in the National League. Here come Palace trailing 1-0. Joel Ward overhits that. Oh dear. And he beats the ground in frustration, Joel Ward, as he was in a good position. And that, if I may, kind of sums up Crystal Palace's performance so far. And it's Maidenhead 1, Dagenham and Redbridge 0. Plenty of goals to talk about in the National League. Just one here. Arsenal still trailing against Swansea. Stoke beating Watford. Bolton beating Fulham at home as well, which is a bit of a coupon buster if it stays like that. That's great from Lanzini on halfway. Dances past 2, gets it wide. And then fed forward for Zaha, who's challenged on the halfway line by Noble, and it's another free kick to the Eagles. And I think the Palace supporters are saying, how many more of them before the referee gets his notebook out? The answer is a few more, because no card has been shown on this occasion. Here's Joel Ward on the right-hand side, just inside West Ham territory. He'll want better distribution this time. Plays it short to Loftus-Cheek. Milivojevic is challenged by Fernandez, and then he's given it away, and Ayew will go hurtling towards Dan, towards the edge of the penalty area. Jinks past 2 and shoots! Oh, that's a terrific goal! Andre Ayew's got his 3rd strike of the week, and it flashes past Baroni, and the Hammers lead by 2-0. 3 minutes to go to the interval. A mistake in midfield by the Crystal Palace player Milivojevic has been punished ruthlessly, and it's Andre Ayew, who's double against Spurs, got them back in that contest, who's now put them 2-0 in front here at Selhurst Park. Palace 0, West Ham 2.
Well, what a strike. It's a counter-attack. I think they've only had 2 attacks, Nick, haven't they, in the first half, and they've both been killer blows as far as Crystal Palace are concerned here. He drives. I actually think he makes the wrong decision. I thought he was going to slip it to Hernandez, but what a strike from 20 yards out. Julius Baroni, no chance. It is a mountain now for Crystal Palace.
Well, Slaven Bilic was supposed to have 2 games to save his job. We are nearly
he's now in the top 10, isn't he, in the league?
We're now nearly 1.5.
It's an unbelievable strike, this.
It's a brilliant goal, isn't it? He's absolutely lashed it in with his left foot and bends into the top corner. But yeah, we're 1.5 games into those 2 games. West Ham have scored 5 goals. They've won 1 of them, and they're very much in the driving seat in this one as well. Let's go to Deepdale. Goal News, Billy Reeves.
It's Preston North End 1, Brentford 1, the equaliser, and Maguire solo effort after a sustained amount of pressure. At the moment there's a bit of concern for Nico Yennaris. He was poleaxed off the ball, and it looks as though he's unconscious at the moment, so hopefully Nico's okay. PNE 1, Brentford 1.
Cabaye plays this forward. Loftus-Cheek's got away from his man but can't make contact. It goes through the heart. That's the closest Palace have come since that scrambled effort a few minutes ago to hitting the target and really testing Joe Hard. It's still 2-0 to the Hammers, and there's been a late goal in the first half at Loftus Road. Emma Jones.
Queen's Park Rangers leading Wolves by a 1-0. Connor Washington getting round John Ruddy, almost lost his footing, did really well though to keep it, to make it QPR 1, Wolves 0, but Wolves have just equalised. It dropped to Bonatini. He gets his 8th of the season. 43 minutes on the clock here. It's all square. QPR 1, Wolves 1.
Thank you, Emma. So that lead for QPR not lasting long. What can Palace do to respond to the challenge laid down by West Ham in this first 45 minutes of football? We're going to have 2 extra minutes at the end of the first half. Crystal Palace 0, West Ham 2 on BBC. No, 3. Did he change it to 3, or did it say 2 initially? Maybe my eyes really are packing up.
I think it did come up with 3. We have had a couple of injuries, and we had the Van Arnold injury.
Yeah.
We had the Fossa-Mensah injury. From being an absolute snooze fest,
yes,
the first 20-25 minutes,
absolutely,
the game has really come alive, and it's come alive for West Ham.
It was brutal to watch for the first half an hour, and then once Wilfred Zaha took a tumble in the penalty area and didn't get a penalty, then it all started happening. Milivojevic hoists this long, but it's going to drop to Cresswell down the left. He's going to drill it forward into no man's land, really. And it goes out for
the only way for me, Crystal Palace have to change, Nick. They've got to slightly do something different.
What can they change it to, though?
Well, the only thing I can think of is get Sakho down the middle, almost play 3 and play Townsend and Zaha either side. They've got to go for it.
Loftus-Cheek further forward, maybe.
You just got to be careful, because if West Ham score the next goal, we might as well pack up and go home.
Yeah, could be difficult. Here's Hernandez on the halfway line, who almost able to release Andre Ayew, but not quite. Ayew's come a little deeper to receive this. Challenged by Tompkins. Ayew's gone down in a crumpled heap. Tompkins has walked away without a card being shown. And we are now playing the second of the 3 minutes that the referee said he'd add on for stoppages at the end of the first 45 on the home of London football. It's BBC Radio London, with live commentaries to come on Tuesday evening from Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday against Millwall, and then on Wednesday evening Tottenham against Real Madrid in the Champions League. So lots more live football on the way. That was a bit of an agricultural challenge by James Tompkins. The referee's
that's frustration.
Yeah, I would have thought so. And we're going to hear some frustration when the half-time whistle blows, I would have thought. It's been a strange old few weeks for Crystal Palace. The huge elation against Chelsea. Then a good performance, but a narrow defeat against Newcastle. You can write off Bristol City, I suppose, because no one cares about that here, I don't think. And then this first 45 minutes.
I know we go back to the Bristol City thing, but the best way to prepare for a game is by winning a game, is it not? You just create negativity around the training ground, around the ground. I think it's very hard in football to say, well, we're going to choose that game to do well in, but we don't really want to do well in that. It doesn't work like that.
It's interesting you say that as a footballer, because I think fans get that a little bit, but as a footballer, surely it's kind of a state of mind, really. Free kick on halfway to West Ham. We've now played for nearly 3 minutes of stoppage time at the end of the first half. Zabaleta winds up across. No one in a blue shirt. That's what West Ham are wearing today to collect that. And here come Joel Ward and Crystal Palace. Norwich 0, Derby 1. David Nugent has got the goal in the Championship. And still we play on here. We're in the 4th minute of stoppage time. Palace still coming forward. Milivojevic tries to get round Chiarte, runs into Chiarte. Almost breaks to Loftus-Cheek, but not quite. Cabaye battles for it. It's going to come out to Zaha on this near side. It'll be a throw.
Too many bodies behind the ball for Crystal Palace. You know, West Ham are very well organised now. Chicarico's up front. Everybody else is back in their final.
Zaha tries to go on the outside of Zabaleta, breaks into the penalty area, does well and earns a corner. Are they going to have time to take this corner? We've nearly played for 4 minutes at the end of this first half. It's Palace's 4th corner of the game.
This is big, this corner, because if they can get a goal from this, all of a sudden from being dead and buried, they go in alive.
Yeah. West Ham need to keep it out.
Big moment.
Palace must strike if they can before the half-time whistle goes. It'll be clipped in by Cabaye towards Dan, who has a free header, and it's headed wide by Loftus-Cheek, and that's half-time. And that was a really big moment, because Loftus-Cheek came very close to hitting the target. Dan won the header really easily, and Loftus-Cheek was stretching inside the 6-yard box. Every muscle, every sinew to try and turn the ball towards goal. If he had managed to hit the target, surely he would have scored. But the whistle goes. This is the rather strange atmosphere that the Crystal Palace players have to walk down the tunnel in. They're not booing, to be fair, the Crystal Palace supporters. They're still hopeful, as Mark Arnautovic comes and gives Javier Hernandez a big hug for his part in the fact that West Ham lead at the break by 2-0. Hernandez got the first just after the half hour. Ayew scored the second with 3 minutes of the first half to go. Palace's best chance, a scramble in which there were 2 saves made by Joe Hart from James Tompkins and Jeffrey Schlupp. But in this critical London derby, once again it is Slaven Milic and West Ham who have the advantage. Palace 0, West Ham 2 at the break.
BBC Radio London. BBC Radio London.
First for London sport.
Up on the way, let's go to the Emirates. Arsenal-Swansea half-time. Jamie Hill. Jamie, what's the half-time picture?
Arsenal 0, Swansea 1, the half-time score here. Sam Kukas' neat near-post finish, splitting the two sides on 21 minutes through the legs of Petr Cech. It went. It should have been 2 just before half-time. Jordan Ayew blocked by Petr Cech with the goal gaping, and Abraham totally unmarked. As Sanchez shot apart. Arsenal dreadful. Arsenal 0, Swansea 1.
Let's get some of the other half-times for you, and indeed to Adam Inca at Vicarage Road at Watford Stoke. Adam.
Stoke leading here 1-0. The goal came after 16 minutes. Darren Fletcher, unmarked on the edge of the 18-yard box, volleyed home from Shaqiri's corner. A fantastic goal, although you have to question how Fletcher was unmarked. Stoke have been very defensive since, quite happy to sit back and protect their lead, but Watford are making it too easy for them. Too many inaccurate passes. They're not moving the ball quickly enough in midfield. Stoke lead the Hornets at half-time 1-0.
Championship, QPR Wolves, half-time from Emma Jones.
And it's 1 apiece here at the break. Queen's Park Rangers holding back Wolves for large parts of this match and taking the lead through Connor Washington, who did really well to keep his footing to turn it past John Ruddy to make QPR 1-0 up. But they say that you're vulnerable after scoring a goal, and certainly Queen's Park Rangers switched off for Bonatini to get his 8th of the season. At half-time here, it's QPR 1, Wolves 1.
Let's go to the Principality Stadium, Cardiff Millwall. Dino Standing.
It's Cardiff City 0, Millwall 0. Well, we had to wait 21 minutes for a real effort on goal, but then we've suddenly had a flurry of them on both sides. It was Lee Gregory who went closest first, following on from a ball through from Jed Wallace before firing over, and then almost immediately at the other end, Jordan Archer had to be at his best to save from Ward. In fact, Archer's made a couple more excellent stops, denying Ward again, and then from a Hoylett volley. But at the other end, an awful back pass by Sol Bamba fed Steve Morrison in, and somehow Etheridge just got a touch to it as the Lions skipper knocked the ball goalwards. Etheridge called into action just on the stroke again of half-time as Gregory found himself in the clear, but at the break it's still Cardiff 0, Millwall 0.
Craven Cottage, and not the half-time score we were suggesting should be on the scoreboard. Aaron Paul.
Not at all. Fulham 0, Bolton 1. Not a memorable 45 minutes of football if you are a Fulham fan. The Whites have been slowly relinquishing control of this one after making a decent start. Floyd Aite saw his early effort ruled out for offside after some excellent work from Tom Kearney, who has looked back to his brilliant best, but who hasn't been able to rectify his side's clean sheet conundrum. Sammy Amiobi showed the Fulham strikers how it was done just before the half-hour mark, latching on to a Ben Anik long ball and turning 3 defenders before slotting home. Ever since then, the natives, they've been pretty restless. Fulham needs someone to set this game alight. Boos at the break as it's Fulham 0, Bolton 1.
To the Valley, half-time in the game between Charlton and Wimbledon. Alan Seabrook.
Yeah, Charlton 0, Wimbledon 0. No real surprise. A very pedestrian first 45 minutes that will arguably have left manager Neil Ardley as the happier of the two gaffers. Indeed, Charles and Osalaja at the back for Wimbledon have been rocks, and they've limited Charlton to very few chances. Charlton, though, have had territorially the better of things, and their efforts came from Forster Caskey, an effort from 20 yards, a free kick over the bar, and Foss, who shot wide from 20 yards. At the other end, Wimbledon have had even few efforts and sights on goal. Their best moment, their only moment, Bartram feeding Lyle Taylor, who thrashed the ball wide of the target. Neither side has moved the ball fast enough, hence the half-time scoreline. Charlton 0, Wimbledon 0.
And let's go to the Wham Stadium, Accrington Barnet. Jonathan Blakey.
1-0 to Accrington Stanley here at half-time. Accrington have probably had the better of what's been quite a close first half. They took the lead on the 34th minute. A cross on the right-hand side was not dealt with from the Barnet defence. It found its way to Sean McConville, who took one touch onto his stronger right foot in the penalty area and then lashed a shot right into the top corner. But 2 minutes after that, Barnet had the perfect opportunity to get back into the game. They were awarded a penalty after Jack Taylor was brought down. Jamal Campbell-Rice, experienced attacking midfielder, took the penalty. He lashed it straight onto the bar. Barnet struggled to get back into the game after that. 40 minutes on the clock when Ben Richards, Everton, had a header from a corner from almost underneath the goal bar, or the crossbar, somehow put it as effort off target. And Jordan Clark, who's been a real thorn in the Barnet side all the first half, had his shot fizz just wide of the post on 41 minutes. It's half-time and it's Accrington Stanley 1, Barnet 0.
Into the National League, to the Racecourse Ground. Half-time in the game between Wrexham and Leyton Orient. Dave Victor.
Wrexham 1,
1, Leyton Orient 1, and the O's displayed fight, character and spirit. Coming back after a dreadful start, just 50 seconds, Rutherford's cross found Chris Holroyd unmarked at the far post to head home. But Leyton Orient came back, Sendles Wide had a clearance off the line from captain Pearson in the 20th minute, and 3 minutes later, Macaulay Bonne with a left foot strike which flew into the top corner of the net. And then in the 28th minute, it was David Mooney with a shot which was deflected inches wide. End-to-end stuff in a lively game, and it was Rutherford that denied by goal line clearance from Ellis. Half-time here, Wrexham 1, Leyton Orient 1.
Let's go back into the Championship. It's Preston against Brentford, and a delay, Billy Reeves.
Yeah, long delay here. Nico Yanaris unconscious in the middle of the pitch for about 12 minutes. Didn't see what happened because it was a long way from play just immediately after Preston equalised. It's Preston North End 1, Brentford 1. Nico Yanaris unconscious when he was taken down the tunnel. A lot of concern for Brentford's outstanding performer of the season so far. So we've got about 5 or 6 minutes yet to play. PNE 1, Brentford 1.
Let's give you some other scores from the National League at half-time. Bournemouth 1, Bournemouth 2, Bromley 2. Maidenhead 1, Dagenham and Redbridge 0, and Sutton 0, Ebbsfleet 0. To Rugby's Aviva Premiership and half-time at Allianz Park. Saracens against London Irish. Nigel Budd.
Read all about it, read all about it. Owen Farrell misses 3. Nicky knew a bit like one of you when you get your driver out on the golf course. They all just went to the right of the right hand upright, but never mind, he did land 2 penalties towards the end of the first half and converted a bullocking try from Maka Vinapolo after 10 minutes, who took quite a few London Irish players with him. It's like stopping a dump truck. And there have been a couple of penalties for James Marshall, who hasn't missed any of the Kiwi fly half for London Irish. But at this sun-soaked, absolutely capacity 10,000 crowd, it is at half-time Saracens 13, London Irish 6.
Commentary of the second half on the BBC Sport website, and at half-time at the Stoop, it's Harlequins 17, Worcester Warriors 18. You can hear commentary of the second half of that game at the very same location. Earlier, it finished Manchester United 1, Tottenham 0 in our early kick-off. It's Crystal Palace 0, West Ham 2 in our 3 o'clock kick-off, and we'll have the second half of that after a little bit of this from Gary King.
Many thanks. The M4 into town looking slow at the moment between junction 3 at Hayes towards the elevated section at junction 2. Euston Eversholt Street still remains closed in both directions, follows the Burstwater Main outside London Euston train station. Mill Hill, the A1 on Great North Way, there's a lane closed there at the moment following an accident. A couple of cars and a van involved just near to Five Ways Corner. Dagenham, the A13, the westbound entry slip road partly blocked at the Goresbrook interchange. That follows an accident, a couple of vehicles involved there. Finchley on the North Circular, the A406, there's a lane closed due to a broken down vehicle westbound around High Road. And on the trains, delays still around 15-20 minutes and some cancellations on Greater Anglia between Tottenham Hale and Cheshunt, and that follows an earlier police investigation. Gary King, BBC Radio London Travel, your next updates just before 5.
Online, on digital radio and TV, and on 94.9 FM.
London's radio station.
BBC Radio London.
London's news at 4. I'm Kate Gibson. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn will call this afternoon for MPs who abuse or sexually harass women to be held to account. The Islington North MP will use a speech to condemn what he calls a culture where the abuse of women has often been normalised, including at Westminster. MP Adrian Bailey is welcoming Mr Corbyn's intervention.
This sort of activities are not appreciated by many people, not just in the public generally, but within the Labour Party. And it's time that we really did adopt what the Labour Party has promised, a zero-tolerance approach to any sort of harassment, particularly sexual harassment.
Meanwhile, the Environment Secretary, Michael Goves, apologised for making a joke about Harvey Weinstein on Radio 4's Today programme. Mr Gove compared being interviewed by John Humphreys to going into Mr Weinstein's bedroom. The disgraced Hollywood producer has been accused of sexually harassing and assaulting a number of women, but he denies rape. The separatist leader of Catalonia has called for people to oppose its takeover by Madrid peacefully. In a TV broadcast from a secret location, Carles Puigdemont said Catalans must defend what they'd achieved. The Spanish government has sacked Mr Puigdemont, the Catalan police chief, and regional parliament, describing its declaration of independence as illegal. In Madrid, thousands of people waving Spanish flags have held a rally calling for national unity. Montse de Barn, a member of the Catalan National Assembly, says everything could come to a halt on Monday.
Probably the country will stop on Monday to show our reject to the illegal actions announced by the Spanish government and already published in the official newsletters. I'm really concerned about what the Spanish government intends to do to prevent people from doing their job under the current legitimacy that has been voted by the Catalan people.
Hundreds of people have held a minute's silence in Ealing and West London, where a former Met police officer was killed after being knocked off her bike. Claudia Manera was hit at the same junction where 2 others have died and 46 people seriously injured in the past 5 years. Compulsory drug testing on board Royal Navy submarines has been ordered by the Defence Secretary, Sir Michael Fallon. It's after 9 crew members on the nuclear vessel HMS Vigilant were dismissed, reportedly after using cocaine. And the Met Police is warning groups of bikers who cause disruption by taking part in any so-called Halloween ride-outs in London that they will be arrested. Officers say it's after a large motorbike group engaged in antisocial behaviour last year and the year before, driving recklessly through red lights and on pavements. Now let's get London's weather with Elizabeth Rizzini.
Staying dry and rather breezy for the rest of the day, and then it will be a dry night tonight. Plenty of cloud around. The wind will gradually ease down, but a much milder night than we saw last night, with lows in the towns of around 13, maybe even 14 degrees in central London. Tomorrow morning the cloud will thin and break. We'll get plenty of sunshine coming through. Another dry day, but it will feel a lot cooler tomorrow. A light northerly breeze. Top temperatures by the afternoon of between 13 and 15 Celsius.
BBC Radio London, it's 2 minutes past 4.
This is London.
You're listening to the local radio station of the year.
It would have been very easy for me to award a prize to Radio London.
Congratulations, how wonderful.
We're so thrilled. We just feel like it's been an amazingly difficult year for London.
I think that's why we won it in the end.
It's a pleasure to listen to.
The spirit of London.
This is London.
This is BBC Radio London.
Local station of the year.
BBC Radio London.
BBC Radio London.
First for London sport.
BBC Radio London, already some big stories on the boil. Tottenham went up to Manchester United a little bit earlier on, and West Ham took on Crystal Palace here. And at the moment, with Manchester United taking the points, it's West Ham in the driving seat.
Breaking onto a flick up from Lukaku, must score, and does. Manchester United lead here at Old Trafford against Tottenham once again. Martial found over the top, and it was a very cool finish from the substitute.
Towards the edge of the penalty area, digs past 2 and shoots! Oh, that's a terrific goal! Andre Ayew's got his 3rd strike of the week, and it flashes past Baroni, and the Hammers lead by 2-0. So Manchester United beating Spurs earlier, and West Ham in the driving seat against Crystal Palace. Palace are already out for this second half. They've got an awful lot to do in this second 45 here on BBC Radio London. Half-time whistle's gone at Deepdale at long last, and it's Preston 1, Brentford 1 at the break. James Scowcroft has had a few moments to think about what might happen in this second 45 minutes, and it actually looks as though we're going to see Arthur Masuaku come on for West Ham, but can Crystal Palace use the bench to change things, or do they have to use the 11 they've got to be more attacking and more aggressive?
Well, there's not a lot they can use off the bench, Nick. You know, Bakary Sakho could come on. Damien Delaney's not going to come on and score or create 3 goals. Martin Kelly's not going to. Jason Puncheon probably won't, and Jaro Riedewald won't either. So Sakho's the only one really that can come on and not so much change a game, but they could change a formation. Whether they would go for 3 up front, they've got to be positive now, Palace. They have to get the next goal. If they don't get the next goal, then it's game over.
And are you surprised that the one team that does appear to be making a change is West Ham? Arthur Masuaku, it would appear, is going to come on for Cresswell, who hasn't reappeared, I think, for the second half.
It's got to be an injury, isn't it?
You think that's just an injury?
Yeah.
Nothing tactical about it. West Ham will try the same approach, because this has been a perfect game for West Ham so far, really. Has it not?
Yeah, perfect. I'm just seeing it whether they'd go to a back four, but they're not. It's going to be the same. It's going to be 3 at the back, 2 wing backs, 3 in midfield, and then Chicarico up front on his own. Really, so far it's been perfect for West Ham. They've smothered Crystal Palace, haven't they? They've stopped them getting into any routine. They've stopped, apart from a couple of scrambles, haven't really been a threat. Crystal Palace.
No, they had that scramble 10 minutes to go before the interval, and that's about it really. We're back underway, and we'll run you through the 2 lineups. No changes for Crystal Palace, even though they trailed 2-0 at the interval here on BBC Radio London. Here's Wilfried Zaha with his back to goal. Font shackling him. It's been rolled all the way back to James Tomkins. So Julian Speroni in goal for Palace. A back four of Joel Ward, James Tomkins, Scott Dan and Timothy Fosu-Mensah. This goes out of play off Masuaku. In midfield, Luka Milivojevic, Johan Cabaye, Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Jeffrey Schlupp, with Andros Townsend and Wilfried Zaha up front. Joe Hart in goal for West Ham. Cheikhou Kouyaté, Angelo Ogbonna and Jose Font are the 3 centre halves, with Pablo Zabaleta and now Arthur Masuaku the substitute as the 2 wing backs. Mark Noble and Edmilson Fernandez in midfield. Andre Ayew, Javier Hernandez and Manuel Lanzini supporting him. On the bench for Palace, Hennessy, Sakho, that's Bakary Sakho, Delaney, Kelly, Punchin and Riedwald. And for West Ham, Adrian, Arnautovic, Carroll, Obiang, Antonio and Rice. Headed away by Kouyaté towards the halfway line. Collected by Cabaye, who's been penalised for a foul. Free kick to West Ham. And all the impetus, all the effort is now going to have to be directed from West Ham's perspective at trying to get back into this fixture, because Crystal Palace so far a long way, a very long way from winning this football match. And if they were to lose again, they'd still be rooted at the foot of the table with just 3 points, and the situation gets graver and graver by the week. There'll come a point where even mathematical safety will need such a strong showing in the second half of the season as to be virtually impossible. Townsend, though, gets away from his man down the right-hand side. Low cross, cleared by Kouyaté, comes out to Ward, and then Cabaye tries to backheel it in. It's blocked by Font. And Liverpool have scored against Huddersfield. Daniel Sturridge with the goal. This is played all the way through to Speroni. But are you seeing signs of impetus, James Scowcroft?
Well, they got bodies forward, didn't they? There's a couple of passes they've strung together, Crystal Palace. But again, they haven't got that focal point up front, Nick, have they, where they can get it wide and say, go on, test him out. And West Ham have got bodies behind the ball.
It's the defending very deep, West Ham at the moment. Masuaku has taken it away from Joel Ward. And Lanzini will scamper towards the halfway line. Gets caught by Milivojevic. Free kick to the Hammers. Chance to relieve any pressure. Palace have to pull everybody back into their own half to defend this. But there's been an early goal at the Emirates. Here's Jamie Hill.
It's Arsenal 1, Swansea 1. They're back on level terms. Relief around the Emirates. Sead Kolasinac on the edge of the area. Let fly off the left foot. Terrific finish. The build-up was scrappy, but they won't care. It's Arsenal 1, Swansea 1.
Still some way to go for Arsenal in that game. Here come West Ham. Zabaleta's creaking limbs, getting him to the touchline. Lifts in a cross, headed away by Milivojevic. Comes out to Fernandez, who dances down that left-hand side. Fosu-Mensah's taken it off him. And the Manchester United loanee will clear to halfway. One in the air by Font. West Ham will try and send it forward, but again, they're not in any particular hurry, because they have the 2-goal advantage. Now here's Zaha running at Kouyaté. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got Townsend ahead of him. Here's Andros Townsend into the box. He's been caught by Ogbonna. That's a penalty. Crystal Palace with a chance to pull one back at the start of this second half, and after Wilfried Zaha played Townsend into the penalty area, Ogbonna came across and there was contact. James Scowcroft saw it, I saw it, the Holmesdale saw it, Bobby Madley saw it.
It's a really lazy penalty to give away by West Ham. They were so comfortable to give the ball away. They don't really track back. Big chance for Palace here now to get back into the game.
This is critical, and it's Luka Milivojevic, the Serbian, who's going to strike it against Joe Hart at the Holmesdale end, and he scores! He sends Hart the wrong way. Crystal Palace alive and kicking at Selhurst Park.
third goal is crucial. It's a good penalty by the Serb. It sends Joe Hart the wrong way. Maybe this crowd will get behind Crystal Palace now. Maybe they can build on this.
Well, they'll have to do something because there's still a long way back. But after half an hour of torture, it's really been quite enterprising since that first goal went in. Zaha chasing this down the left, being urged on by the Selhurst faithful. Font with him, twists and turns on that flank. He's got Schlupp to try and help him out, but in the end Zaha twists too much and it goes out of play for a throw-in to West Ham United. So there's the spark for Palace. From a West Ham perspective, does this rattle them, do you think? I mean, their confidence is fragile, to put it mildly. They've not won away from home so far this season.
Oh, definitely. They're in cruise control, weren't they? Even in the second half, they come out in total dominant. It was just lazy by them, really. They gave the ball away really cheaply. It was Fonte, Noble and Zabaleta. Didn't really get the ball down. They gave it away and they've been punished.
Let's go to the Wham Stadium and Accrington Barnet, Jonathan Blakey.
It's 2-0 to Accrington Stanley now, across on the left-hand side. Once again, the Barnet defence just didn't deal with it, and Jordan Clark picked himself up off the floor and fired it into the bottom corner of the net on the turn. It's 2-0 to Accrington Stanley.
Thanks, Jonathan. Cleared downfield by Speroni, flicked on by Schlupp, chased by Townsend. Chiarte comes across and turns it away from Andros Townsend, who was brought down with a penalty. That clearance by Zabaleta. Oh, he's going to drop to Ayew on the halfway line. He's taken out by two Crystal Palace players, Kabay and Milojevic. No foul. Here come the Eagles down the left. Zaha approaching the edge of the penalty area. Two with him. Slides it into Schlupp, edge of the box. Wants to set it back. Sets it back for Kabay! Off the post! And then Masuaku picks it up inside the penalty area and runs it clear. West Ham really creaking. Still 2-1 to the Hammers. But Johan Kabay's effort comes off the inside of the post and bounces to safety.
Incredible. But they've got the complete opposite to what we had in the first half. We've got a real game in our hands now. It's a great effort by Kabay. Doesn't quite, to be fair, it's bouncing and bobbling. He just controls it. Joe Hart's beaten, and it's lucky it doesn't hit the post and then hit Joe Hart and go back.
Yes, it could. Oh, do you know what? It's missed Hart by a very small margin. Let's look at this again on the very slow motion. Bosch off the inside of the post, and then it's kind of almost skimmed his back, because if that makes contact
it's a goal
with Joe Hart's spine or his backside, it's going to bounce in. Fine margins, James. Talk about them all the time. 2-1 West Ham. BBC Radio London at Selhurst Park, where that penalty for Crystal Palace has sparked something of a recovery. Could easily be two each. Masuaku down the left, skips past two challengers. Ward goes in strongly, gets the block in, out for a throw. Burton have taken the lead against Ipswich. Ben Turner with the goal. The air's sucked right out of Ipswich Town season recently, it's fair to say. Masuaku down the left, he's battling this time with Ward still going, and
it's a good play. He's done well since he's come on, to be fair. It is.
Just what West Ham needed to try and ease the pressure they were under, and he's earned a set piece. More goals at the Wham Stadium to tell you about in a second, but here is what a free kick for a corner rather for Lanzini, who swings it in, headed down and wide by Font, met it well enough, couldn't direct it.
Half a chance. I think he was a little bit advanced of the ball there, couldn't quite turn his net to get it on target. But West Ham, for me, the worst thing West Ham could do was sit back and just invite Crystal Palace onto him.
We'll give Townsend and Zaha something to run out, I suppose. Let's go back to the Wham Stadium. Another goal, Jonathan Blakey.
It's Accrington 2, Barnet 1. Jamal Campbell-Rice making up for that missed penalty earlier on. Jack Taylor driving run to the edge of the area, fed a through ball for Campbell-Rice, took a left foot drive low and found the bottom corner of the net. Barnet back in this. It's 2-1 to Accrington Stanley.
And it's 2-1 to West Ham here at Selhurst Park on BBC Radio London. Here is Ruben Loftus-Cheek for a reinvigorated Crystal Palace. Joel Ward down the right, advances towards the edge of the penalty area. Townsend cuts inside of Masuaku and approaches the edge of the box to try and lift this in. Oh, it's cannoned off Fernandes and Font. Could have gone anywhere. Collected by Zaha. Edge of the penalty area. Into the box he goes. Twisting and turning run. Wants to shoot. Does shoot. Pushed away by Hart. That was a regulation save by the goalkeeper. But listen to the noise inside Selhurst Park. It's It's a corner. Cabaye to take it.
It's a brilliant game. Excellent game now. And it's on a knife edge again, because if West Ham can get the next goal, it then sort of puts Palace on the back foot. But Palace they just have to keep going. They have to be positive.
Cabaye with the right-footed in-swinging corner. This floats high and is headed away by Ogbonna to Zaha, who tried to control it and then miskicked it. I don't know whether that was intentional. Hooks it back to the edge of the penalty area. Dan's header blocked. Dan has another go at hoiking it forward. Cleared by Font and then booted clear towards the halfway line where Noble can't collect it. Zabaleta can, and he's going to try and release Fernandez down the right. It's very, very open here now as Fernandez looks up, hooks this out wide pass to the left-hand side. Lanzini postage stamp stuff that from Fernandez. Lanzini gets away from Dan, feeds Ayew down the left edge of the penalty area. Fosu-Mensah comes to close him down. Keeps it alive though to Zabaleta. We're going to the Emirates in a second. Here's Ayew, the second goal scorer for West Ham, into Hernandez. Back to Ayew, bustles past two. He's been challenged by Fosu-Mensah. That is a foul. And the referee will not let Mark Noble take that quickly. It'll be a free kick to West Ham deep inside the Palace half of the field, and we'll go to the Emirates Stadium. Goal news, Jamie Hill.
And it's Arsenal 2, Swansea 1. They've turned this round in the second half. The Gunners, Aaron Ramsey got the goal. Low ball in from Kolasinac, who turned provider, slid in from 6 yards out. It's Arsenal 2, Swansea 1.
Lanzini to take this free kick down the left-hand side. It's level with the edge of the Crystal Palace penalty area. The Argentinian has a couple of goes at positioning that. What would West Ham give for a chance to re-establish that 2-goal advantage? Lanzini bides his time and now clips this one towards the far post. Peroni comes and claims well, 6 yards out, wants to get on with this quickly, belts the ball downfield, and Zabaleta's going to head that out of play. Ray Lewington gives the ball to Yohan Cabaye and says, off you go, son. Liverpool 2, Huddersfield 0. Firmino with the second goal. That's a free kick to Crystal Palace on the halfway line. Townsend impeded. Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Put the teeth back in, takes it, and the Eagles want to get on with it. They sense an opportunity to really clamber back into this. Ward down the right. Loftus-Cheek is challenged by Masuaku. Comes back to the edge of the penalty area, where it's sorted out and cleared by a combination of Chiarte and Zabaleta. Headed away from Fernandez by Fosu-Mensah, and Crystal Palace looking a great deal more organised and a great deal more impetuous. Crossing the halfway line is Fosu-Mensah. Wants to release Schlupp down the left, taking on Zabaleta. Jeffrey Schlupp wins that race to the corner flag. It's gone out of play for a corner. Crystal Palace is sixth of the game, in front of the Holmesdale end, whose vociferous supporters are making plenty of noise now. What can Cabaye conjure from that left side as Palace come forward? Right-footed, so it'll swing in. Tompkins, Milivojevic, Dan, the three big targets. Swung in towards the near post, headed away by Zabaleta. Loftus-Cheek wasn't far from it. Can West Ham counter? Or Ward has nodded that towards goal. Flicked on, Dan chasing it. Taken away from him by Chiarte. Out of the penalty area he goes and clears. Collected by Zaha on the right-hand side. Tries to go past Masuaku. Goes down. No foul, says the referee. This time he's going to give a foul though for a challenge by Ward on Hernandez. We're going to see Bakary Sakho come on the Crystal Palace, and we're going to the Wham again, and Jonathan Blakey.
It's 3-1 to Accrington Stanley now. Barnet defended well originally, but just couldn't clear their lines and gifted the ball to Jordan Clark, who easily passed it to Billy Key. One touch in the area and then found a bottom corner. Simple as you like for Accrington Stanley. They're 3-1 up.
Right, Joel Ward's coming off and Bakary Sakho's coming on. James Scowcroft, what does that mean for this Palace attack?
That means they're going to go three up front, which I thought they would do. So it's going to be Zaha and Townsend either side of Sakho. It's going to be a back three or back four.
Are they going to a back three with, well, I was going to say Jeffrey Schlupp at the moment.
Back four.
Right.
Back 4-3-3.
Zabaleta, crossing position for West Ham, floats it into the box, headed away by James Tompkins, collected by Wilfried Zaha deep inside his own half, battling away with Zabaleta. It's going to be swept downfield, and there's a foul given by the assistant behind that pillar. I'm assuming Ayew did something to interfere with the clearance. Bobby Madley's wreathed in smiles. Wilfried Zaha waves that off, and there's going to be a change for West Ham. And you were saying about useful people to introduce from the bench. Michail Antonio's coming on with the Hammers.
What we'll see now, we'll see end-to-end football now, because Palace are going to go for it, but they're going to leave space in behind.
Bakary Sakho is offside. First thing he's done since coming on. Yes, so Schlupp left back, Fosu-Mensah right back, Tompkins and Dan at centre half. Any change you can make, we can make as well, because another full-back's been taken off. Pablo Zabaleta. And Antonio's going to come on for him. I don't know whether Antonio will go and play at right back. He can play at right back. These days he's asked to play a bit further forward. Oh, now half-time in the Under-17s World Cup final. England 1, Spain 2 at half-time at the Salt Lake Stadium in Calcutta. Antonio on for West Ham. 29 minutes of the game left. Crystal Palace 1, West Ham 2 here on BBC Radio London. Free kick to West Ham deep inside their own half. Joe Hart takes it. Goes long. Antonio wins the header against Schlupp, but it's cleared towards the halfway line. I think it's Jose Font playing at right back now. Antonio's being held by Zaha, and this is a free kick to West Ham halfway inside the Palace half. Another opportunity for West Ham just to push Palace back, make them think. Zaha had armfuls of Michail Antonio's arm, if you follow me. And here's the free kick to West Ham, who know they're in a real scrap now in this second half, leading 2-1. And Lanzini winds up this free kick from the right, sent into the penalty area, headed away by Dan, comes to Noble, he's going to help it out wide to Hernandez, gets forced wide by Schlupp, wins a corner. No, doesn't win a corner, beg your pardon, it's been gathered by Speroni. Didn't let it go out of play, that's why he was able to stop the corner, and he bowls it out.
It's a poor first touch, wasn't it, by Hernandez there? Never really did enough.
Zaha getting his skates on down the left, and he might get there before Jose Font, who stretches out a long leg and hooks it out of play. It's going to be a throw-in which is quickly taken by Zaha into Schlupp. Cabaye and Milivojevic pressing West Ham back into their own third of the field. Townsend takes over. He's got Ayew coming to close him down. Fosu-Mensah now playing at right back is outside him. Into Loftus-Cheek. Dan gives it to Schlupp, who fractionally miscontrols it, but keeps it alive on that flank. At the end of this passage of play, we'll get round to some of our other featured matches. Townsend, edge of the box, rolls it square. Fosu-Mensah, crossing position, blocked by Masuaku. It's going to come back to Timothy Fosu-Mensah on the halfway line. Still an awful lot of time left in this game. Man City 3-1 up against West Brom. Masuaku has fouled Townsend. And they try and take it quickly, Palace, but the referee brings it back. But here's another of those set-piece opportunities that you said were so critical for the Eagles. Townsend and Cabaye standing over this, just in from the touchline, and it will be Townsend who's going to take it. Cabaye drifts to the edge of the box. Almost 20 minutes of the second half play. Crystal Palace 1, West Ham 2. Townsend's left-footed delivery into the box. All flipped on by Sakho, can't find another red and blue shirt. Zaha's ridden a challenge there, and it goes out for a West Ham throw. Yeah, the Palace players let that go out, thinking it was their throw, but it's a West Ham throw, and we'll go to Watford Stoke. Get the latest from Vicarage Road. Adam Inca.
Stoke still leading here 1-0. Darren Fletcher's first half goal separating the two sides. Stoke are doing everything they can to protect their lead. Watford are really struggling to create anything meaningful. It's Stoke 1, Watford 0 at present.
Still waiting for this throw to be taken to Loftus Road. QPR Wolves, Emma Jones.
Remains one apiece here at Loftus Road. Connor Washington with the goal for QPR, and Bonatini with the equaliser just before half-time. There might have been a decent shout for Wolves to win a penalty in this second half, but it remains QPR 1, Wolves 1.
Antonio Stroh down the left looking for Hernandez, who's been bundled over, and that's a foul, says Bobby Madley, and James Tompkins is furious with the decision. Antonio stayed down injured. While they sort this out, we'll go to Dino Standing watching Cardiff Millwall.
It's Cardiff City 0, Millwall 0. Controversy in the first minute of the second half where Lee Gregory was pulled back by Sean Morrison just inside the penalty area, it seemed, and the referee waved away all claims of a penalty. Steve Morrison that was, had a shot well saved by Everidge afterwards, but it's still Cardiff 0, Millwall 0.
And to Craven Cottage, Fulham against Bolton, Aaron Paul.
65 gone, Fulham 0, Bolton Wanderers 1, and you know what? The Championship strugglers are really starting to boss this game. Fulham have only had one real clear-cut opportunity in the second half with Neeskens Cabano scooping a shot over that was left for Oliver Norwood. Otherwise, as you can hear, plenty of boos all around me. Fulham 0, Bolton Wanderers 1.
Treatment continues here, so we'll get goal news from Deepdale. Preston Brentford, Billy Reeves.
Preston North End 1, Brentford 2. Sawyers 2 or 3 bites at the cherry, 2 or 3 missed kicks, and then it took a deflection which took it past the Preston goalkeeper. We've started late here because of the lengthy injury to Nico Yunaris. The general consensus is amongst the press team that he ran into Hugill and was poleaxed. Preston North End 1, Brentford 2.
After a lengthy period of treatment, Javier Hernandez is back on his feet. He's having to leave the field of play while this free kick is sorted out on the right-hand side, level with the edge of the Palace penalty area. Lanzini to take it. Ogbonna, Ayew, Kiarte, Font, all on the edge of the 18-yard box. And the Palace fans trying to focus their players' minds on keeping this out, because 3-1's a very difficult scoreline to claw back at this stage of the game. Still Hernandez waits to come back on. Here's Lanzini's delivery into the box where it misses everybody. Drops to Kiarte, 8 yards from goal, strikes the side of Dan, and now there's going to be a counter-attacking opportunity here for Timothy Fosu-Mensah, who legs it over halfway, goes down under a challenge. No foul, says the referee. Selhurst Park is enraged. That ball down the channel for West Ham doesn't find a Hammers player, and it goes back to Julian Speroni, to the Valley, Charlton, Wimbledon, Louis Mendes.
Charlton 0, Wimbledon 0. We've only seen one real opportunity in this second half, and that fell to the Dons with Darius Charles' effort being deflected just wide from a free kick. Charlton, though, have just started to put on a bit of pressure as this game progresses. Mark Marshall is getting ready to come on off the bench for his home debut. Still Charlton 0, Wimbledon 0.
BBC Radio London Sports at Selhurst Park this Saturday afternoon. It's Crystal Palace 1, West Ham 2. Palace back in the game thanks to that penalty from Luka Milivojevic. There's been frantic activity ever since, and at the moment West Ham have a throw in deep inside their own half of the field, and we'll go back to the Wham Stadium again where there's been another goal for Jonathan Blakey.
It's 4-1 to Accrington Stanley. This Barnet defence might as well not be there as the ball is helped over the top, and it's simple for Caden Jackson to run in one-on-one. Craig Ross got something on it, but he tapped it in on the rebound. It's 4-1 to Accrington Stanley.
Long ball forward by Palace. It's going to be seen out of play by Jose Font, and we'll complete our roundup at the racecourse. Wrexham Orient, Dave Victor.
Wrexham 1, Leyton Orient 1, but only because of the woodwork which denied Leyton Orient. James Dayton in the 68th minute. His drive thumped against the woodwork. It's Wrexham 1, Leyton Orient 1.
Crystal Palace 1, West Ham 2, with exactly a quarter of the game to go. James Scowcroft, given the stop-start nature of the last few minutes, has that blunted the Palace purpose?
Yeah, it has. I'm just going to say that itself. I just think the game's just died down. It was such a frantic pace. A couple of substitutions, a few little niggling fouls and injury. It's just killed the tempo of the game, and that's good for West Ham, not great for Palace.
Here come the Eagles once again here on BBC Radio London. It's with Timothy Fosu-Mensah. Into Dan Cabaye with his back to goal. Milivojevic wide to Fosu-Mensah again on that right side. He's going to play it early. Townsend edge of the box, gets away from Noble, gets forced wide. Oh, tries to send it into Loftus-Cheek, who misses it by inches, and Ogbonna's bundled it behind. Palace's 7th corner of the game. 24 second half minutes played. 2-1 the deficit. Townsend just gets one of those expensive TV microphones and chucks it out of the way. Left-footed from Townsend. He's going to swing this in towards Cabaye, beaten in the air. He's going to send it back into the mix, and it's gathered by Hart. There's been a goal at the racecourse. Dave Victor can tell us about it.
And it's Wrexham that are back in front. It was Rutherford with the low cross, and Holroyd again getting behind the Leyton Orient defence for his second. Wrexham 2, Wrexham 2, Leyton Orient 1.
Ball's back with Joe Hart. Sacco comes to close him down. The clearance is lifted over Jeffrey Schlupp. It's hooked forward over the halfway line. Sacco tries to nod it down. They're using Bakary Sacco as the target man. Now, he is the tallest of the most advanced players to Crystal Palace, but I'm not sure how brilliant he is in the air. This bounces all the way through to Speroni. And it's Norwich 1, Derby 1. Tim Closer with the goal for Norwich. It's Timothy Fosu-Mensah on the halfway line. Brushes past Lanzini and lifts this high. The target is Zaha. It goes over his head, shoulder to shoulder with Antonio. Zaha keeps it in play. And then Cabaye battles past two, feeds Townsend. Central position. He's got Fosu-Mensah outside him. It's all hands to the pump for West Ham at the moment. Masuaku has bundled Fosu-Mensah over. And it's another free kick, another set piece for Crystal Palace in the West Ham half of the field. And I thought there might be further sanction, but no. And Andros Townsend has got his right arm raised, and Milivojevic and Townsend and Dan all make their way into the penalty area to provide a target. Bakary Sako in there as well. There are 20 minutes
right
left.
Back, Fosu-Mensah.
Townsend's delivery headed away by Masuaku. Again, not the best of deliveries from Townsend, and there's a counter-attacking opportunity here for West Ham, and Fernandez goes tearing after this down the right. Michail Antonio's ahead of him. The pass isn't very good, and it's collected by Jeffrey Schlupp, and Palace will try and come forward again. We'll bring in James Scowcroft at a moment when the action dies, but after half an hour in which we all went to sleep, suddenly everyone's very, very lively indeed. It's going to break to this left-hand side for Crystal Palace, who trail 2-1. And they are coming forward with increasing purpose. Yeah, Fosu-Mensah's look like getting forward quite a bit.
Yeah.
Ball forward for Towns, for Sako rather, but again he's beaten to it. We might get, as a former centre forward, we might get James Scowcroft's assessment that Bakary Sako as a front battering ram in the next few minutes.
He doesn't look fit at the moment.
Well, there you are. There's a snap take, to be honest with you. He's not done a great deal up front, but he's all they've got. The cupboard is bare. And now it's a free kick to West Ham inside their own half of the field. 19 minutes left. Palace 1, West Ham 2. The Hammers without an away win all season. Palace with only the one win, full stop. Everything just goes into a bit of a lull. I think everyone's just drawing breath, because the last half an hour or so of football's been dramatic stuff, hasn't it, really?
It's been. I don't think the change has actually helped Crystal Palace, because I think now the back three at West Ham are comfortable with Sako up against them, and Zaha and Townsend have gone deep, and they've gone, well, you know, the midfield can pick them up now.
Lifted forward for West Ham. Tompkins doesn't get there, and it's cleared away and out of play for a throw. No, it's been kept in play, in fact, and Loftus-Cheek has got away from his man and is approaching the edge of the penalty area. Here's Zaha, good foot in by Kiarte. Important challenge to make. Ooh, Jose Font's pulled up. He's had to go down inside his own penalty area. I don't know if that's a hamstring. But yeah, the game's going to have to stop, and the physio for West Ham's being called for. Palace fans aren't buying it. Definitely aren't buying it, but it did look as though he just kind of froze in time there, Jose Font. In fact, Bobby Madley's come to check how Font is, and eventually he's waved on.
No, he's struggling. He's saying he's coming off.
Yeah, well, they've got Declan Rice, who played at centre-half on Wednesday at Wembley, on the bench. Slaven Bilic just not entirely sure.
Yeah, it's Declan Rice that's been called back.
Is it Declan Rice? I was going to say whether Obiang might be looked at, but Rice did OK at Wembley at centre-half, one of West Ham's youngsters. The Hammers still cling to this 2-1 lead. What must it be like to be Slaven Bilic, James, when you every couple of months the newspapers have basically, and you know, the media as a whole, have basically sacked you. They've said, right, you're gone next couple, and then you keep pulling these results out of the bag. I mean, even if they don't get a victory today, you know, if say this is a draw, is that enough to keep him in the job? A win at Wembley and a draw here? I don't know. Well, you can't read the minds of the West Ham board, but it's an extraordinary situation to be in.
But it's been the same situation now for nearly 18 months, isn't it? He's going to go. Oh, he's just won 3 games on the spin.
Yeah, Font eventually coming off. Declan Rice is going to come on. Yes, quite a lot of last season was punctuated by, you know, the former Crystal Palace player is getting a lot of grief as he hobbles towards the touchline. And well, now he's stopped. And to be honest, West Ham bench need to get somebody else on to help him, because he could be doing himself more harm than good, and that is slightly undermining Jose Font's case that he's seriously injured. He's leaving the field of play now. And Declan Rice comes on, but they're not too impressed, the home side. Liverpool 3, Huddersfield 0. Jorginho Wijnaldum with the third goal at Anfield. Here it's still 2-1 to West Ham, and we've got 15 minutes left. It'll be a bit more than 15 minutes, particularly after this lengthy stoppage with Jose Font's injury. So Font off, Rice coming on, wearing 41. And there's been a goal at Deepdale. Let's bring in Billy Reeves.
Preston North End have equalised again. P&E 2, Brentford 2, a long sustained series of passes and pressure. Parkhausen with a wicked shot from 18 yards out. We've had about 25 minutes of the second half because of the long delay in the first, because of the injury to Yanaris. P&E 2, Brentford 2.
Thanks, Billy. Yes, there's a bit of time to go there, and we've got 14 minutes to go here. Crystal Palace 1, West Ham 2. And Lanzini has guided this forward for the Hammers. Here's Ayew, challenged by Cabaye. Townsend just inside his own half of the field, gets his engine running and marauds over halfway. Plays it early for Loftus-Cheek, who's got an awful lot of space to play with. Here's Zaha, edge of the penalty area, onto his right foot, jinking run, blocked by Noble on the slide and hooked away by Lanzini as far as Milivojevic. Out wide it goes to Sacco on that right side. He's going to take it to the byline. Oh, it has kept it alive. Still got Masuaku with him. And in the end, he's won a corner, Bakary Sacco. The 8th of the game, the Eagles. And once again, all hands to the pump for West Ham. And Milivojevic and Dan and Tompkins all make their way into the penalty area. And Selhurst Park holds its breath. Be Cabaye with the right-footed outswinger, Sacco with the goalkeeper. The two centre-halves to arrive late. This is drifted in, flicked away, importantly, by Antonio, collected by Zaha. Raced into the penalty area, shoots, saved by Hart, and lifted away by Ogbonna. Zaha's lifted it back into the mix. Tompkins tries to get hold of it, but it's flicked away. It falls to Cabaye, and now Loftus-Cheek is going to guide this back to the halfway line. And Fosu-Mensah, whose clipped pass can only find Antonio, heads it out for a throw-in. But Zaha tests Hart, who pushes it away.
It suits him more, doesn't it, when he's out wide, Wilfried Zaha. He can get it in space, and he can get into his, just get into a bit of rhythm of taking players on, coming on his right-hand side or going out on the left-hand side.
Palace coming forward. Fosu-Mensah in for Loftus-Cheek in a central position. Middlesbrough 2-0 up against Reading now. Milivojevic literally waits just outside the penalty area. Townsend breaking forward into Milivojevic, edge of the box, little foot in, but it's been collected by Fosu-Mensah. Now Townsend, 30 yards from goal, into Milivojevic again. He is challenged by Ogbonna, and he's fouled, and this is a free kick in a really good position, 3 or 4 yards outside the penalty area, and there'll be an assortment of candidates who'll want to strike this.
What a stupid free kick to give away.
Well, he's already given away a stupid penalty.
It's not going anywhere. Just let him have the ball, see him back into midfield, and he's given away a free kick that is, you as Yohan Cabaye and you wanted to put the ball down in a perfect place, this would be it. 22 yards out.
It's the perfect free kick. It's just far enough away to do what needs to happen with a wall. We're going to get a Deepdale after this free kick, but with 12 minutes to go, what a big moment this could be. It's to the right.
Just before
Cabaye having a look at it. Milivojevic also there. Milivojevic steps away. Bakary Sacco is also there as well. Joe Hart just shuffling across his line. The wall is being positioned by Bobby Madley, and he's got the spray out. We're almost ready to go here. Palace 2-1 down. Cabaye stepping away from the ball, which he has a good close look, and now the wall's ready, the referee's ready. What can Cabaye do? He's going to strike this, and it's saved by Hart to his left. Tumbling away, the England goalkeeper to push it clear, and running it towards halfway goes Manuel Lanzini. Joe Hart's made some important saves this half. Here's Fosu-Mensah, lifts it forward. Is the flag up against Zaha? It is. It's a free kick, and Zaha's ended up in a heap on the floor. But Joe Hart to the rescue. That's the third save he's made in this half to keep the score at 2-1.
Good free kick. What I would say is I thought it was a routine save by Joe Hart. You know, I think he said, right, I'll give you this, but I've got it covered if it comes over.
Yeah, just inviting that side of the goal, wasn't he? Just saying, look, you think you can get it in here, I've got to move really slowly. We're going to go to Deepdale, where there's been a goal. Billy Reeves
could have taken the lead for the third time. PNE 2, Brentford 3. Team goal finished off by Watkins. Extraordinary. PNE 2, Brentford 3.
Cheers, Billy. Free kick on the halfway line to West Ham. Goal at the Valley. Louis Mendes.
Yes, Charlton 1, Wimbledon 0. The Addicts have finally broken down a resolute AFC Wimbledon side here. It's Ricky Holmes with the goal. A free kick on the left-hand side of the penalty area in a crossing position. He caught out George Long and fired it into the goal at his near side. Charlton 1, Wimbledon 0.
West Ham coming forward, leading 2-1. They've not won away from home all season, but they have the advantage here, and we've got 9 minutes to go, and Lanzini's breaking forward, runs into Cabaye, boisterous challenge. Milivojevic collects and will try and turn defence into attack here for the Eagles, who remain in this incredibly perilous position at the bottom of the Premier League with just 3 points to their name, and they're trailing at the moment. Cabaye, Loftus-Cheek, breaks towards the edge of the penalty area, wide to Bakary Sakho, approaching the edge of the box now, skips past Masuaku. Oh, there's an important challenge by Noble, gets the block in, out for a corner. Palace keep coming, don't they, James?
They do keep coming, they keep asking questions. So far, West Ham are standing firm.
Those big units come forward once more. Sakho with the goalkeeper, Loftus-Cheek at the near post. Milivojevic and Tompkins both in there. This is floated towards Dan. It's nicked away from him by Antonio at the very last second. Zaha will collect this on the left-hand side. He floats in across, headed away by Ogbonna as far as Milivojevic. Lovely turn, but the shot sails over the crossbar and into the Holmesdale end. Brilliant little twist from the Serbian.
Yeah, just fell on his left foot, didn't he, and not his right foot. What West Ham are defending the first ball in really, really well, but they're not picking up the edge of the box. They're not picking up the second phase at all, and they're letting Crystal Palace come back at them.
So far, it's still 2-1. This is BBC Radio London on a Saturday afternoon at Selhurst Park, where it's Crystal Palace 1, West Ham 2. And this is going to drop on the halfway line to Mark Noble. We'll go to Loftus Road in a second, but a rare attack here for West Ham. Masuaku scampering over the halfway line, goes past two defenders. He's still going, Masuaku. It's a lucky deflection. Now he's going backwards. Quite sure he knows what to do with it. Kiate wide to the right, and Fernandez, he skips infield. Noble takes over, hooks it out wide to the right-hand side of Michael Antonio. First time we've really seen him get down that right-hand side since coming on. Low cross drilled in, cleared away as far as Noble, who keeps it alive. Antonio again breaks into the penalty area, challenged by Zaha, still going. It's a real scramble on the edge of the box. There's a flag up for, I think, offside, and it's a free kick. We need to go to Loftus Road, where there's been a goal in the game between QPR and Wolves. Emma Jones.
And it's gone to Queen's Park Rangers. They lead Wolves by 2 goals to 1. Matt Smith coming on as a substitute because Silla just couldn't win headers. Matt Smith did exactly that. A wonderful crossing from the left-hand side to his head. It's QPR 2, Wolves 1.
And it's 2-1 to West Ham here. Thank you, Emma. Just watching West Ham try and come forward tentatively through the middle with Hernandez, who's done brilliantly initially and then gets fouled by Scott Dan. He's a pest, Hernandez, isn't he? Yellow card for Dan as well, as the West Ham fans appreciated. This will tie up more seconds, more minutes possibly. And he's been a big part of what West Ham have done so far in this game. Scored the first goal. And
clock is ticking, isn't it?
It is. It very much is. Dan booked. 6 minutes to go. There'll be quite a bit of stoppage time at the end of this second half. But at the moment, it is West Ham who will claim 3 very, very valuable points. Free kicks played short. Here's Masuaku for the Hammers. Back to Ogbonna. Cabaye coming to close him down. Lifted out wide to the right side of Michael Antonio. Running at Schlupp. Approaching the edge of the box. Left-footed shoots. It sails into the White Horse Road end. Nearly ends up in the supermarket behind that goal. It's gathered by Speroni, who wants to hurry because, as James has highlighted, the clock is ticking away. The sand is creeping through that hourglass, and it is West Ham who are currently in the lead and destined for the 3 points. They did the double over Crystal Palace last season. Hammers is worth mentioning. Manuel Lanzini scored in his last 4 games, hasn't done so yet. But it is Crystal Palace who still have the impetus to come forward. Now, Masuaku has conceded another free kick on that side. And he's going to have his name taken. He keeps fouling Townsend. It's repetitive, isn't it?
I can't see what he's complaining about.
Yeah, no, I don't know whether it's for that challenge or for persistent fouling. But here's another set piece to Crystal Palace. Along with the 9 corners, they've had numerous free kicks in and around the edge of the penalty area. Slavan Bilic forces himself to watch Johan Cabaye place this ball down the right. It's halfway inside the West Ham half of the field. And all those big units are committed forward once again. The usual routine, this. Here's Cabaye, right-footed, lifted into the penalty area. Tompkins is beaten in the air by Ogbonna. That's an important header because Tompkins was gearing up to head it in. It goes out for a throw. Milivojevic takes it into Wilfried Zaha, put in by Fernandez. Out it goes for another Palace throw. Zaha takes it this time. Back to Milivojevic on that left side. He's going to lift it infield. Fosu Mensah, the last man back for Crystal Palace. Forward to Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek's giving it straight to Lanzini. Lanzini's giving it straight back to Andros Townsend for Crystal Palace. And here's Loftus-Cheek once again down the right. Pops it through the legs of Masuaku. Into the box. Brilliant from Loftus-Cheek. Sets it back. Oh, and he can't find a Palace player. That was sensational wing play from Loftus-Cheek, but he couldn't find a blue and red shirt. Lifted back into the penalty area. Tompkins flicks it on. Collected by Masuaku, who clears to West Ham towards the halfway line. Hernandez manages to hold it up. Plays in Fernandez. And there are problems here for Palace. Fernandez breaks to the edge of the box. Hernandez into the penalty area. Fosu Mensah does just enough to steal it away from him. We'll go to Dave Victor in a second, but West Ham are pouring bodies forward. It's with Antonio on that right side. Defence turned into attack by the Hammers. Antonio skipped into the box. He's still going. Footed by Milivojevic. Comes out of Fernandez. Hook cross. Headed clear by Dan towards the edge of the box. Still not away though. Antonio breaks forward. He's held up by Wilfried Zaha on that side. Goes down in the heat. That'll be a free kick to West Ham. We'll go to the racecourse. Dave Victor.
The equaliser for the O's came in the 84th minute. Bocco's corner, and it was a brave header from Mark Ellis. It's Wrexham 2, Leyton Orient 2.
Ipswich have scored late on against Burton. Burton 1, Ipswich 2. Bertrand Selina, the man who's got it, the man on loan from Manchester City. Here's a free kick for West Ham with 3 minutes of the 90 to go, leading 2-1, and with an opportunity to occupy some time in the Crystal Palace half of the field. But they had, we're just watching that bit of skill from Loftus-Cheek actually on the replay. Superb run down that right-hand side, but
Crystal Palace's final ball hasn't quite been good this afternoon, hasn't it? Just let them down.
Not with all those set pieces. Have they played that short? Is the game actually started? It has, yes. West Ham have played it short and made a real hash of trying to hang on to it because Cabaye's won it back, and now Crystal Palace have won a free kick. 2 minutes left. BBC Radio London live at Selhurst Park. This game still in the balance, but West Ham with their noses in front. Ray Lewington waves the Palace players forward. Julius Perroni's going to take this free kick and he's going to hammer it long. Trouble is, Bakary Sakho's the target. It's one in the air by Cheikhou Kouyaté, nodded back towards goal by Schlupp, and then Lanzini has won it for West Ham, and they're coming forward again now. Lanzini and Ayew combining just outside the centre circle. They had an overload on this near side. West Ham, if they'd have gone left, clipped forward. It's a nothing ball this time by Ogbonna. Sent back forward. Sakho chasing it. Declan Rice has to come across and cover. Rice's clearance goes out of play. Palace throw. Approaching the last minute of the 90. I think we'll have 4 or 5 minutes of stoppage time. Townsend says you've got to take this. And then he... Well, that's ridiculous. I don't know what Andros Townsend was doing. Just get on with it. Time's running out. And Fosu Mensah makes that exact point. And he doesn't even give it to Andros Townsend. That doesn't surprise me after that little altercation. Here's Cabaye, plays it forward. Zaha away down the left. In for Sakho, and he's been put behind by Rice. Vital intervention. Heart-stopping stuff here at Selhurst because Palace have plenty of bodies inside the 6-yard area. It's corner number 10 for Crystal Palace, and Joe Hart sat down inside the 6-yard box. I thought Crystal Palace were going to equalise.
Just couldn't quite get the ball in quicker, could he, Zaha? And I think it's one of his own players that stamped on Joe Hart.
There were a lot of people lunging in for that ball inside the 6-yard area. It will be a corner. And and we are about to enter stoppage time at the end of the 90. How long will Bobby Madley add on the stoppages? There have been quite a few. We've had one now. I would say it's now going to be at least 5 minutes, or he's standing up, Joe Hart. He's going to be okay. Crystal Palace need to make more of these set-piece opportunities, because West Ham have been giving away corners and fouls like confetti. Here goes Cabaye with the right-footed in-swinger late on. 6 minutes. This comes in looking for Tompkins. Oh, it's off the line, and then Sacco hooks it off the top. It hit the bar, it hit the line. It wasn't a goal, and Sacco couldn't convert from 4 yards. It's still 2-1 to West Ham.
Well, it's a free header, and Sacco's just got to turn it into the goal. Funny feeling it's not going to be Palace's day, Nick.
6 minutes though, 6 minutes to try and save the day. Was it a touch from Joe Hart that took it onto the crossbar? Well, we might get a chance to see that again, but what a big moment. Tompkins against his former club. Big header off the underside of the bar, then it hit the line. Didn't need goal line technology, because I don't think it had crossed the line. Cleared downfield by Fosu Mensah into the second minute of 6 to be added on at the end of this game. Bakary Sacco going down the right-hand side, and again Masuaku lunges in, and so does Noble. It's another corner to Crystal Palace. Corner number 11, 2-1 West Ham lead in stoppage time at the end of the 90 minutes. Bakary Sacco is thinking about taking this corner, and now he's going to leave it. And Yohan Cabaye, who had drifted into the box, now comes out to take it. Very difficult to watch. It's going to be an out swinging right-footed corner. Everyone holds their breath yet again. This is floated high. Tompkins with it, punched away by Hart as far as Zaha, who shins it over the bar. That's come down with snow on it, and Palace wastes another chance, and the seconds tick by, and we are still in a match situation with West Ham leading by 2-1, and we've still got 4 minutes left.
They played at Crystal Palace in the second half, had a real go, haven't they? The penalty gave them a little bit of belief. I'm not sure Roy Hodgson could have asked much more of his players in the second half, but I just think, why didn't they go for it in the first half as well? Why didn't they come? I know it's a lot at stake.
Yohan Cabaye has hit the post. James Tompkins has hit the bar in this second half, but it's stayed out. 3.5 minutes to go. Townsend away from Masuaku on that right side once again, plays it into Bakary Sacco, sets it back for Townsend, who can't stop it from going out of play. Townsend had gone, Sacco returned it to him. West Ham throw inside their own half of the field. And to be fair to those Palace fans, they continue to back their team. The situation at the bottom of the table has never been more grave, and they've come so close to levelling up in the second half. Tompkins with a high up and under. Ogbonna lets it bounce. Bakary Sacco gets his body in the way, keeps it in play. Does he know? Goes out. Throw in West Ham. Time ticking away here at Selhurst Park. We will round up all the full times in just a second. I can tell you Liverpool have beaten Huddersfield by 3-0. That's a foul. Cabaye on Noble. And this may be the opportunity West Ham needed just to kill the game off. 2-1 they lead, the Hammers.
Time is ticking away, isn't it? And it's stop-start. This is what West Ham want.
Yeah, perfect. This will in fact, you know what? While they do this, we might pop to the Emirates. All over. Jamie Hill.
Yes, Arsenal 2, Swansea 1. Kolasinac and Ramsey won this game for the Gunners in the second half. 2 quick-fire goals after Klukas put the Swans in front in the first half. Scrappy, but 3 points. Arsenal 2, Swansea 1.
Joe Hart clears downfield. They lead 2-1 the Hammers here on BBC Radio London. This bounces into the box. It's hooked clear by Townsend. Flicked on by Cabaye. And it'll drop into a central position where Loftus-Cheek will let it go over his head, and Edmilson Fernandez is going to clip this forward, and Javier Hernandez is inside the box. He can wrap things up here, sets it back for Lanzini, who bustles past 2 players, gets forced wide. Hernandez again, edge of the penalty area, foot in by Tompkins is enough to take it out of play.
That's a really poor touch, isn't it, by Hernandez there, because he's in on goal, could have wrapped it all up.
But he couldn't apply the moment of finesse that would have surely sealed the points. We've now played for nearly 5 minutes of the added on time. We're supposed to have 6. Hernandez again, deep inside Palace territory, battling away down by the touchline, and this goes out of play for a goal kick. Let's go to Aaron Paul watching Fulham Bolton. Late goal, Aaron.
Cometh the man, cometh the hour. It's Tom Kearney who's headed Fulham back into this match, and they go on for a winner. Into added time here. Fulham 1, Bolton 1.
Still playing here at Selhurst. We've played for almost 5 minutes of scheduled stoppage time. There'll be 1 more minute at least. It's still 2-1 to West Ham. Fernandez checks in field. They're tying Palace up at the back at the moment. And this is going to be kept in play by Crystal Palace deep inside their own half of the field, and this ball has to go forward immediately. They're taking their time about it, the Eagles. There must be some tired legs out there. Loftus-Cheek has gone past 3. It's a great turn of pace by Loftus-Cheek, and he's approaching the edge of the penalty area. Zaha outside him, skips into the box. Is there a final hurrah? His shot is blocked. No handball, says the referee. It's cleared towards the halfway line, and Michail Antonio scampers down the right. Is he going to be able to take on Jeffrey Schlupp? He is. He's kept it in play as well. The referee's waved advantage. Antonio makes his way into the penalty area, chested really back to Speroni. Slaven Bilic says, how much longer? I can tell you, about 10 seconds. Townsend, down the right. It's got to be now for Crystal Palace. West Ham simply must hold on. Townsend running square. Loftus-Cheek, 25 yards from goal. They're backing off him. Into Zaha, edge of the penalty area. Takes it wide, gets forced wide. Still going Zaha, shoots, scores! Wilfried Zaha! In the 7th minute of stoppage time! Squeezes it in from a very tight angle. I do not believe it. It's Zaha who snatches 2 points away from Slaven Bilic and gives Selhurst Park hope once again. We are playing the 7th minute of stoppage time at Selhurst. Incredible scenes. A wry smile from Slaven Bilic. 2-2 here in this battle at the bottom, right at the death. A late goal to change it all.
What a game, what a game this has been. The second half has been fantastic, and fair play to Palace. They just about deserved this. West Ham want shooting the way they've thrown this away. Michail Antonio, he had the ball in the right hand side. He's just got to find Hernandez in the box. It's lazy, he goes in. Palace get the ball forward. Loftus-Cheek, so West Ham commit far too many players forward. Gives it to Zaha. Zaha just tricks his way into the box, finds a corner. What a game. It's got to be over now.
Well, West Ham are going to kick off. We're now playing the 8th minute of stoppage time. Back it goes to Hart. He will clear. And the roar from the Selhurst faithful tells you it's all over. It was the second last kick of the game. The Wilfried Zaha, the magician, the man who will save Crystal Palace if they stay up. Struck it across Joe Hart into the corner. And it is Roy Hodgson, who a matter of seconds ago was facing yet another defeat as Crystal Palace manager, who punches the air and turns to applaud the Selhurst Park crowd, and it is Slaven Bilic